It's in the bedroom on top of the.
Cheers, y'all, everywhere else. So now we're about to go live on Amazon too. Let's get that set up. Bam. Get our planner rocking. I'm really excited.
What's today? Tuesday, but it's like a Monday for everybody.
Like getting back to the regular work routine.
No more Veterans Day.
Let's see if we'll get back to it in 5, 4, 3, 2. Come on, Amazon, get the live going. Where's my button? All right, so that's why we take time. So I'll see. Make sure we're back here. There we go. We're back. All right, let's see if we can get it going on Amazon. There's the go live. That's so. It's like a little delayed today. Oh, that's why, because I started it at 10:15. It's not going to let me go live.
Oh.
So we got to do it right on time. Boop.
Damn. See.
It's knowing all the variables, right, y'all? So again, we're going to be going over goal setting, goal management, and mindset related to that. We're going to be covering this topic in about 5 minutes. I'm going to grab our other laptop, and then we're going to be sharing the screen and
screen sharing,
adding all the values for you guys. And for those of you that are joining in, you haven't seen yesterday's live stream, and you're not familiar why it says day 2 versus just the topic. We're doing 6 days of health retreat content streaming. So today through all the way till Saturday, we're going to be live streaming, talking about a different topic every day. We're going to be doing a live stream so you guys can ask questions, you can interact, you can comment, all those good things. If it's helpful, share it. Make sure you're following, you're subscribed, and wherever you're watching this so you can see the rest of the streams, workshops, and also we're going to be doing replays. So if you missed it for whatever reason, just reach out to us, shoot us a DM, comment. If you're on the newsletter, we're going to be sending it out that way. This way, if you did miss something, you can go back and watch it. And that's the cool thing about live streaming nowadays.
Everything's recorded. Nobody's going to miss anything.
God, love the technology.
Yeah.
Boom. And Amazon, what's up? Get ready to go live in 1 second. Amazon knows. There we go. Now we're on Amazon too. So what I would recommend though, wherever you're watching this, if you want, we're going to be talking about products related to it, specifically this planner. This one is available on our live on Amazon specifically, and all the other shops, you're not going to really see it, but I can also post it in the comments if you guys want to see that and you have a hard time finding it.
Yeah, easy stuff.
All the funsies.
We'll probably have a list too at the end for those of you who are on our email list and following the stream. We'll just go over and reiterate all of the products that we listed along with the PDFs we mentioned and all that fun stuff.
All that fun jazz.
Eventually, everyone will have access to the products that we were recommending.
One way, shape, or form. All right, so I'm going to just send this out. And this is why I always like to kind of start a couple minutes early. So you guys can see behind the scenes, but we can also get everything set up. Yeah. While we're waiting, though, we got like 3 or 5 minutes. Hit us with questions, whether it's around mindset, goal setting, anything related to health and wellness, or just about life.
Yeah,
whatever
personal
you guys want.
Stuff, whatever. We're here. This is 5 minutes before, so you could get the juice at this time.
Yeah, you get all the, and that's the one thing I would encourage you guys. Like when I go live in general, I clearly love talking. So it's basically you're getting like a free coaching session if you are willing to share vulnerable questions in the comments of asking something about yourself. It doesn't have to get crazy vulnerable. But just saying like, oh, hey, here's my weight, here's my height, here's my goal. What can that look like? Like, oh, if I were you, this is what I might do. And that hopefully can become helpful.
Or these are the challenges that I'm experiencing right now.
How would you deal with it?
How would you deal with it? Or this is what's really important to me in regards to health or wellness.
Bingo.
What do you think? Or what are the top 5 suggestions? Whatever. It could be any question that you're pondering.
You're curious about. And that's like one thing that what we could talk about. So since it is goal setting, I'm going to be talking about 5 areas predominantly. So we're going to do spiritual, physical, emotional, and relationship. That's actually 4. What's the 5th one?
Intellectual, I think. Intellectual.
Social. Yeah, intellectual. You're exactly spot on. So hitting these 5 categories and areas, you don't necessarily have to have a goal in all of them. It's just things that where I'm focused on. I like the planner invites. And this, transparently, the planner that I'm referencing, a sponsor had sent me the first one for free. But since then, honestly, like, hey, I love your stuff. I bought one myself because I just really like their stuff. I recommend it to my clients now. And it's advertised as like an ADHD planner, which I think is interesting because it's not just for people with ADHD, even though that's way more of a predominant component of society now, whether you're diagnosed or not.
I see all you business owners out there.
Yeah, getting stuff done, doing things.
ADHD business owners.
So that's going to be like something that I'm curious to hear from you guys. Like, what, if any, areas are you setting goals around? You're already working towards? What does that look like for you? I'll obviously dive into mine. And if Carrie wants to share hers, we can go through that too when we're going through the planning part. So I'm just going to hop in here for the studio. So we'll have our backup view. Because the cool thing too about StreamYard, transparently, we're also using StreamYard to cast this out everywhere. I'm just teaching Carrie some behind the scenes stuff so you guys can join along since I've used StreamYard for quite a bit. Yeah. I can send you this link and you could be like outside and like on this laptop streaming into the studio, and I could be inside or you could be wherever. So we could have multiple people in. So it's kind of cool to have it from different angles, especially if it's like, I don't want the audio to echo.
Yeah.
Or we want to just be able to like see, it says I'm backstage. So you don't even see me on the live stream on this side, but I can see comments that are coming in. That's the only reason I want it open. So when you guys comment, also wherever you guys are tuning in from, feel free to let us know in the comments. I love to see like, hey, where's everybody at? We're in Asheville, or technically Waynesville, North Carolina. Yeah. But I love to see if you guys are in New York, North Carolina, California, Florida, Texas, Wyoming, wherever. Thailand, maybe we got some Thailand peeps jumping in. Even though in Thailand it would be like 11 o'clock at night right now.
Very late, yeah.
Probably not.
Only night owls in Thailand.
But yeah, with that being said, let's get to the presentation and get right into it. Okay. So for those of you that are on TikTok and Instagram, you're not going to be able to see the screen share. So hang in with us. We're going to go through everything. If you guys want to actually see the presentation or slide deck, again, join our newsletter. Just shoot me a DM or comment, and we can circle back and send you the links for that so that you have it. Or you could just join on Amazon. You could join on YouTube or on one of our other platforms. The only thing is Instagram and TikTok we can't use on StreamYard.
It's just Facebook. They could get it.
Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon, all that good stuff. Yeah. So let's get our little screen share on and get into the funsies. So we're going to pick, what is this? I got to give permission, right? I forgot. I haven't worked on your computer before. So this is the fun thing. When we get new computers, you always got to like go through all the permissions and all the fun stuff. And that's why we do this stuff early. Yeah. Okay. Google Chrome. You got the thumbs up. I got you, Google.
Here.
Oh, now it wants passwords.
I can just do a thumbprint. There you go.
Yes. No, we don't want to quit. Of course.
Oh, this is the time we'd go live too.
Yeah. So this is like perfect timing. See? Perfect timing. All right, let's get this puppy shared. So this is what we're starting with today. The outline of it is what goes into a goal. That's kind of what we want to discuss, look at, and talk about. All right, I'm just going to make sure. Yeah, perfect. So this is screen sharing. So you can kind of see over here like what they're seeing. So we'll be in that little corner. Again, we're going to define what is a goal. It's probably a good place to start. Looking at creating goals. And this, you hopefully at this point, you've heard of the acronym SMART. And specifically talking about SMART goal setting. So SMART, what does that stand for? And then diving a little deeper, the 5 principles behind that. And then ultimately, we're going to piggyback onto one of the other presentations that I do that'll talk about managing those goals, some of the other habit components to it as well. Yeah. So let's start with first defining a goal. And if you guys want to tag it in the comments, what do you think a goal is? How would you define a goal? Because that's something, if you have kids, I always find it interesting. They'll ask you questions like, all right, how would I explain this to my 5-year-old? Yeah. How would I explain this to my 4-year-old?
Really basic.
Or like, so I'm curious, if you were trying to explain a goal, how would you word it? How would you define it to like a 5 or a 6-year-old? And then I'm going to share what we have for our definition, and then we can kind of overlook it or overlap, as it were. And then I'll just pull up Amazon over here too, because I know we got questions coming in on Amazon. Oh yeah. What's up, Doug? I see you, dude. Thanks for jumping into the funsies. And again, if you guys just want to say hey in the chat, feel free to as we're going through this. And if you do have questions, even if I don't stop in the middle of it, we'll have time for questions. And I'm going to even ask you guys and do some polling and some surveys, things to, again, hopefully add value and keep you guys engaged as well. Yeah. All right, so let's pull this puppy up. Boom. Whoa, so loud. Got our chat rocking. And again, we got the planner highlighted. So let's read that definition. Now that we've got it, let's go over what is our definition for goal. So we got like kind of 5 different bullet points we're going to share and go through. So one definition for goal, something you are consciously trying to do. So if I were explaining that to my 5-year-old or to like Lena, my 6-year-old, I would probably not say consciously. I'm saying something that you were trying to do with intention. Not that she maybe even knows what intention is, but easier to digest. Second, driven by your value system. So whatever's important to you is going to impact your goal. Third, directs your attention and actions. So hopefully your goal is going to direct and hopefully align what your resources are with that goal and try and put them together. Then we have Challenging goals ignite your energy and increase your effort. So this is an important one we're going to talk about too, with a particular scientist that did some research and looking at the Goldilocks zone of goal setting. Because if the goal's too easy, probably not going to do it. If it's too hard, you're also not going to do it. It's got to be that sweet spot, or ideally it's going to be the sweet spot to make it stimulating enough you're going to work for it, and rewarding enough you're going to want it, but not so easy. It's like, what's the point? And then accomplishing goals can increase satisfaction and motivation in life just in general. And that's like kind of a feedback loop. A goal begets another goal, begets another goal, and it starts to feel good and build that momentum. Yeah. So the quote that we're going to use here is begin with the end in mind. So I think of like, if I'm going to reverse engineer the goal, we're going to do this later with our planner. Yeah. That's how we look at it.
Right.
So whether it's a body composition goal, like I was talking to a patient of mine yesterday, looking at A1C levels and looking at our insulin and being able to say, hey, that's what we want to think about. How do I get my A1C levels down? How do I get off insulin? That's our end in mind that we're going to work towards. All right, cool. That means we got to move a certain way, eat a certain way, do those types of things. So let's talk about, speaking of goals, we got short-term versus long-term. And those are things we're going to use when we're setting our goals. So if we think 100 days out, that may be like a kind of middle ground. I still consider that short-term goals.
100 days out?
Yeah, like that's like, and this is a little bit subjective. When I go like 6 months to a year, that to me is more long-term. Short-term is like daily, weekly, and maybe like the next month or 2-3 months out, which is a kind of hybrid.
I think it's kind of subjective, use your own judgment. If it's a goal, like I want to start meditating, your short-term goal could be start with 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks. Your long-term goal could be in 3 months, you're at 15 minutes a day. So it depends on how big the goal is. If the goal is I want to buy a house, then 3 months probably won't be enough time. So the 3-month goals are going to be more short-term. The year-long goals are going to be your more long-term. So yeah, it's relative to the individual context of the goals you're trying to set.
And then we'll dig into this a little bit more too, but to piggyback on that is knowing, are we looking at an outcome-based goal or a process-based goal?
Right.
And the difference between those two is simply the outcome is the result, right? So that result, the end in mind, I want to get off insulin. Okay. That's my outcome-based goal. The other goal is the process-based. And we're going to talk about this in the next presentation of the habit management side. What are the habits I need to do on a daily or a weekly basis to get me to said goal?
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about some of those things. I'm even going to, like, with my planner, get a little more transparent, even to my own business stuff and to my own health goals and things we're working around that. So here's what the science says. Edwin Locke, this is who I was referencing before. So the theory of task motivation and incentives, while this is from 1968, I think it's very interesting and still referenced for a reason, because the insight it provides, which is clear and appropriate feedback on your goals, are going to be motivating. So having a clear goal and having appropriate feedback from your environment, from people you're working with, a coach, maybe your management team, whomever is related to the goal, getting clear feedback is helpful on a daily or a weekly basis. Then also having a very clear goal. So, and that's where the smart goal setting comes into play. Then working towards a goal is a source of motivation we talked about before, and it can improve your performance. If you're just like meandering through life, it's not going to be potentially as exciting. You may not have something to work towards. But if you're very clearly working towards, okay, for example, you mentioned a house analogy, or I want to get off of my insulin treatment, or I want to lower my A1C levels, that could be motivating, because then we think about, okay, what does that allow me to do? Can I play with my kids more? Can I go on vacation, or whatever that provides? Right. And then the more difficult and specific a goal, the harder people tend to work to achieve it, with the caveat, while we want a hard goal, we don't want it so hard that it feels impossible.
Right.
So it's, again, that Goldilocks zone. And then 90% of time-specific challenging goals lead to an increase in performance compared to an easier goal. So again, make it challenging enough so that it helps drive up performance. But again, not so hard where it's just going to feel impossible. Right. So it's continuously navigating that Goldilocks zone. Here's probably the most important thing I want you guys to take away. If you take away one thing from this entire live stream, this is the one thing I want you to take away. Writing down your goals, when they documented it and did it in different types of research studies, increased the likelihood of success by 42%. So let me just give you an example. Let's say I want to lose 10 pounds of fat. That's my outcome-based goal. I write that down. By January 1st, I want to weigh 10 pounds less in body fat. Just by me doing that simple action, I've increased my success by 42%. So I always tell people, if I could give you a pill and it would increase the likelihood of you hitting whatever your goal is by 42%, wouldn't you take that pill Right? Like, wouldn't you do that? So here's the pill. Here's the opportunity right now. I'm going to pause and invite everybody you're watching, get a piece of paper. Don't type it on your phone. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, a marker, whatever, and just write out the goal and the timeline you want to actually do it within. So whatever your goal is, I want to buy a house by January 1st, 2026. Maybe that's your goal. And even more specifically, I want to buy a $500,000 house with 1 acre of property by January 1st, 2026. And I want it to be where is it? So we're going to get into why that's the case with the SMART goal setting. So we have a specific outcome. We want to have it measurable. Okay, we either did or we didn't. Is it attainable too? So it's like, okay, I can't say I want to make $10 million today if you don't have the like realistic likelihood of like having the systems in place to do that. Then you have it relevant to your big picture. What's your driving force? Why do you care? Right? That has to be relevant.
That's really
to
important too. The why for me. If I don't have a clear picture as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, the motivation over time will wane, especially when there's challenges come up, which for everyone, when we're goal setting, at some point you're going to hit a roadblock. At some point you're going to hit a challenge. At some point you're just going to have a day where you just don't want to do the thing you said you're going to do. So having that why really close to your heart or close to your mind of what's motivating you is going to give you the juice you need on those days when you don't feel motivated or you're facing extra challenges to be like, nope, this is really important to me. This is important to my future self. So that's like a huge key, I think, the why.
Yeah, that driving force. Because guess what? No matter how exciting a goal is, you're not always going to want to do whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
So being able to come back to that why, I always draw comparisons to martial arts because that's where I've had the most success and references, honestly, in my life, sports and martial arts. So being able to say, hey, like, I wanted to win a world title. I was able to do that, but it wasn't overnight, right? So the SMART goal of it is I'm going to train twice a day, 6 days a week for the next 100 days as the example. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable. For me, it was attainable in that time frame. It was relevant to my bigger drive, which was becoming a champion, and it was time sensitive. It was time bound in the time frame I'm working with it. So I'm gonna hit you guys with a quote that you'll see on the screen. A goal without a plan is just a wish or a dream, whichever you want to call it. But it's like, okay, cool. Like there's a great expression. I'll try and word in a way that's cool for live streaming. It's like wish in one hand and go to the bathroom in the other. See which one fills up first. You can wish all day. Right. Nothing's probably going to come from that without action.
Right. Daily habits.
So this is where, again, I talked about the creating SMART goals. I'll break it down again. We're going to go through each one individually. And we're going to give examples of a goal, and then we're going to make it like a SMART goal. So we're going to transform that goal to give more specificity. So again, with goal setting, it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable with where you currently are. It's relevant to your drive, your purpose, the big picture. It's time bound or time sensitive. So first, let's look at specific. So when we're defining that goal, who's involved? What do I want to accomplish? Where is this taking place? When? And then I'll go back to time bound in the later part of the SMART goal setting. Which, meaning what like kind of requirements are going to be a part of it? What things do I need to focus on? And what are some of the barriers or constraints I'm going to have to face? And then this is the most important to me. And I'm curious your thoughts, Carrie. Why? Identify specific reasons, purposes, and benefits of why you're even doing this in the first place. Because if that why doesn't light you on fire, get you excited, we might be in some trouble here.
Yeah, because you can only like crack what I used to say. You can only crack the whip so many times before that part of you that's like, hey, F off inside is not interested anymore. But if you have a really strong why, if you're really attached to the why and it means something to you, it's attached to your morals, your values, you know, what you want for yourself, your visions, your dreams, it's going to be far more motivating. It's going to feel less like whip cracking on the day-to-day, you know, kind of more mundane tasks that are getting you closer to your goal. It's going to feel more inspiring. You're going to look forward to getting up at 5 a.m. and going for a run every morning. You're going to look forward to, you know, meal planning and all these more mundane things that seem really overwhelming in the beginning when you don't have any clarity on your goals or specificities or awareness of your whys. A lot of times we set goals and we just think, oh, this sounds really nice. Or like, I saw someone who lives a life like this and I want to be like them. Well, that's not really a super motivating why. So you really want to get down to like, what it means to me, have an emotional value system attachment to the why.
Exactly. And I think the other part to that is if something comes up in the entrepreneurial world, the business world, quite a bit. It's like, okay, everyone sees the life that you're living when there's success being had, but no one sees all the work and sacrifice that go into it. And I'll give you guys a real
less sexy and attractive.
Yeah, I'll give you a real vulnerable, transparent example. I'm just like, I was talking to Carrie about before this, that I even deal. I've had my business now for 13 years. Throughout the 13 years, I've either had contracts, sometimes I've worked full time. And over the last 4+ years, we've just been full-time living off the business. And it comes up and down. Since the storm, it's actually been extremely stressful. So now I'm even entertaining like, okay, what other contracts and things can I do as a business owner? It's maybe not super sexy. Like maybe I'll go get a part-time job or a contract or a full-time job to bridge the gap in what we're doing because of some of the impacts of it. The point of saying that is like when I'm creating a SMART goal, what's the why? My why is being able to live a certain type of life with my children, with my family, being present in their lives. Maybe I don't make as much money, but I'm able to be there for them. I'm able to pick them up from school, take them to school, or go to like martial arts classes and do those things. But at the same time, being aware of what are the day in and day out processes that allow us to get there. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of a personal story just to share with you guys. I also am working on just vulnerably sneaking things in. So again, go back to specific. So this is where I'll give you an example and we'll make it a more specific goal. So why you need a why. So let's bring it to that with the specificity in mind. Most important question to answer in the goal setting, right? So motivation for it without the why, purpose of moving towards that goal is probably going to be empty and not really valuable for you. And you're going to run into more and more roadblocks. So let's look again at what that can be. So let's take a goal. I want to exercise more. This is something I probably hear hundreds of times.
Almost everyone that I talk
hundreds
to.
Of times.
Yeah. No matter where you're at on the exercise realm, it seems like everybody's like, oh, I want to get back at doing this on top of my exercise. Or I want to incorporate yoga to exercise. I want to do more martial arts. I want to exercise more. Or you're starting from scratch and you're like, I just want to exercise. So this is a very practical, relatable one, I think.
So I'll give you guys a moment here. I actually want to hear, what is your goal? Like if you want to share in the comments or if you just want to DM us, share your goal, comments, DM, or just straight up write it down. The reason I'm inviting you to share it with us, though, is then we can take, if it seems non-specific, how can we make it more specific? So I'll give you an example while we're kind of waiting to share this stuff if you so choose. I want to exercise non-specific goal. If we make it more specific, I will exercise 45 minutes, 3 days per week at the health club, let's say whatever the name of the gym is, 10 minutes from my house. Yeah. And then to make it even, and we'll go into some of the other variables, we can make a time specific and more so for the next 100 days, the year, or forever. Yeah. But notice the difference here. Let's just break down that specificity. So it took the same principle. We want to exercise. Right. And even if I were to get more specific, taking exercise and saying, what type of exercise? Right. Like, what does that mean?
Are you weightlifting? Are you doing yoga? Are you biking, cardio? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. So we can say, all right, I'm going to have of these items, we could write out 5 different ways you want to be moving or active or exercising: weight training, yoga, martial arts, cardiovascular, running, and bicycling. Those are just for me, what I've been doing over the last like 2 years, let's say, or if not more, but over the last year specifically. So, okay, I'm going to exercise. When I say exercise, do one of these 5 activities for 45 minutes, 3 days per week at this location. So now notice how much more specific that is. So there's no doubt at the end of the day when it's time to exercise, where am I going? I don't know. Like, and then we could even get even more detail and be like, okay, I'm going to have a gym bag packed by the door. We'll get into some of those other components.
There's lots of things you can do. And then what we're doing is we're not just saying this, we're writing it down. Bingo. Because when you write down the specific goal like this, what you're doing is you're essentially casting a spell to your own unconscious mind that's going, hey, like, get on board. This is what's going to happen. You're kind of, let's say, to use a fun woo-woo term, you're manifesting in your reality the almost 50% more likelihood chance of you succeeding at this goal when you cast that vote to yourself. You saying, yeah, woo-woo?
No, I'm just laughing at the comments on TikTok. I love comments. So no matter what you guys comment, it'll make me chuckle.
Yeah. All right. So moving on.
So let's go into the measurable component now. And again, each one will give an example of a non-measurable or whatever the category is, and then we'll give you another example. But let's, again, break down the value of it in more detail. And if you guys have questions, let me know. So having a concrete criteria for what that measurable goal and factor is. So meaning, are we measuring weight? Are we measuring our cholesterol levels? Are we measuring A1C? Are we measuring how much money's in the bank? Are we measuring whatever the variable is? Like how much weight that I bench press, or how many reps I can do of a push-up, or whatever. Then when you measure your progress, staying on track or not becomes a little bit easier because you know, okay, by week 2, I want it to be here.
Yeah.
Whatever that threshold is, it's measurable. Are we there or are we not? It's objectively a truth. Yes or no?
I'm curious, what do you think about like for measurability being something like I want to feel like I want to have more energy?
Ooh, that's,
you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of a little bit more like
Okay.
vague, but it's like it's still somewhat measurable. I mean, if in a couple weeks or whatever, let's say 6 weeks, you set a goal, you're exercising and you're like, I am noticing day to day, I have more energy. So it's kind of subjective, kind of vague,
so good.
Still measurable.
So good. So we're gonna get into that. And so I'm just gonna like tag a couple of things into this. So thinking about that, we can ask like, okay, how can I make that more measurable? So how much, how many, putting a number on it. So because I hear that a lot. Like I want to have more energy. I want to feel better.
Too. Right.
I don't want to be sad. Whatever the thing is.
Some people don't always like numbers. Like I don't want to measure my waist. I want like a certain feeling.
And that's totally, I would invite us to do that. But at the end of the day, we still are going to come back to, and this is where it becomes a little subjective, right? Meaning we're going to have our influence to it. Every day on a scale of 1 to 10, 1's like, I have no energy. I can't even move. 10's like, I'm shot out of a cannon. I'm ready to crush it.
Yeah.
Where do you feel today? And if you're consistently between, let's say, a 3 to a 5, the measurable goal of that could be like, okay, I want to feel like an 8, 9, or a 10 consistently 5 days out of the week. Now, that doesn't mean we don't actually have control over the outcome. Here's the most interesting part of all of this, where the measurable part becomes important, but I don't want to become too attached to it, is you don't actually have control over the outcome. Most of the time, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. If I told you, okay, by the end of this week, can you guarantee me you'll lose 5 pounds? No. You can do all the process-oriented things and you'll probably lose 5 pounds, but there's no, from what I've seen and from anyone I've seen, no one I've ever worked with has been able to show me they have a switch in their brain. They're like, okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and I don't have to do anything else. Just I'm going to tell my brain to tell my body to lose weight. And maybe if you get to a certain level of like awareness and pathways connect in your brain, you could do that. I've yet to meet that person.
Yeah. No.
So the point of doing that is saying, okay, what's the process that I can actually control? Did I go to the gym or not? That's the process you can control. Yeah. Whether you get 10 pounds stronger or weaker, you actually have less control over. Yeah. But let's even go to that example. So non-measurable, I'm going to eat more vegetables, or I want to have more energy is what you mentioned. Yeah. Let's turn that into a more measurable goal.
Right.
So I'm going to eat 3 vegetables a day, and we'll track my progress by making a check mark on my calendar each time I eat a vegetable. So we get a whiteboard, we get a calendar, the planner that we have. That's what's great. Even I'll go back to this planner, is not only like every day you'll have different tasks and things, but you'll actually have on your calendar a month kind of overview that you can actually look at, and you can actually map out for the week, for the month, whatever on your calendar to say, okay, check, I did that. And on a daily basis. And it feels really good. There's something psychologically driven about checking something off.
Yeah, it's a dopamine hit for sure.
It reinforces that. Again, release. Goals beget more goals, begets more goals. So it's just reinforcing that feedback loop. So on the measurable side, again, with energy, okay, on the flip side, even if I said I'm going to get 9 hours of sleep every night, you actually don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting. I've worked with a variety of clients in medical practice settings, in outpatient, in non-clinical settings. Even if you're taking sleep, whatever you're doing, you don't actually have control over that to a degree. You could say, all right, I'm going to, with the measurable part, stop looking at screens 2 hours before bed.
I'm going to make sure I'm in bed at 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. or whatever.
Bingo.
I'm going to make sure I eat dinner by 6 p.m., whatever the thing is. Those are things you have control over. Yeah, but the actual sleep is, you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure if you're trying to make goals that you don't have control over. Yeah.
That's exactly it. So then being able to say, okay, cool. Now I want to have more energy. Every day I'm going to write down my energy levels from 1 to 10. I'm going to see where do I fall on that. And then over time, my process is I'm going to write down, I'm going to journal at night, or I'm going to turn off my screens. And then over time, as you're sleeping more, you'll see your energy come up. And if not, in 2-3 weeks, we can adjust. And that's the cool thing with smart goal setting, or any goal setting, is it's not like a fixed plan that you have to stay anchored to. You can pivot. So let's keep that component moving and go on to the next one. And again, I'm going to pause to see if that brings up questions for you guys going into the first 2 acronyms, because we got 3 more to go. Yeah. And I want to see if there's any questions or anything else that comes up with that. And if not, we'll go into attainable or actionable. This sometimes will be called different things, but the A in the SMART goal setting is making it attainable and potentially actionable too, where we can kind of marry those things together. So this is the how. How do you intend to reach your goals? So first, this is an interesting question. Is it even possible?
Right.
Like, let's say you want to make a goal where I'm going to like grow wings and fly away. Not going to happen today, most likely.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to say it's impossible, but Highly unlikely.
Yeah. Like, you know, maybe if you go to school for engineering and you do a bunch of other things, or you, I don't know, have some kind of like mutant chemical exposure, you get your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on, possible. So making sure, again, it's possible. That's the Goldilocks zone component of it. Are you prepared to make that commitment too? Like, are you actionably ready? And does it feel attainable? So if you think about it on a readiness scale, this is something I'll constantly reference the whole week, is am I a 1 or a 2? Meaning like, I'm not really ready. I'm not really thinking about it. Or am I a 3, 4, or 5? It's on my radar. I'm setting up plans. I'm ready to take action. I'm crushing it. That's where we kind of want to be. And until you get there, you get to reevaluate what that goal is. Yeah. And then this is a really important question too. Are you willing to alter aspects of your life? So going back to being a business owner, going back to maybe I want to have a different body composition. If you like getting drinks with your friends on a Friday, you may have to stop doing that. Right. Or instead of having as many drinks as you want and staying up till 2 in the morning, yourself. You may have to say, hey, I'm going to have 1 drink so I can go be social. And then I'm going to transition to water. Right. But does that feel attainable? Does that align with your why? Does that feel realistic? And then do you have the necessary, this is an important thing too. Do you have the necessary skills or resources to accomplish said goal? Yeah. Like, do you actually feel outside of, let's say, drinking, now going back to, okay, with a health goal, because this is about the health components of things. Yeah. Does it feel like you actually have the resources to get to the gym? If you can't afford a gym membership, maybe that's going to be an obstacle we got to factor for. Right. We'll work out at home then. So don't factor for going to the gym if you can't afford it. Or I'm going to do 45 minutes 3 times a week, but you really only have 20 minutes 3 times a week. So reevaluating, hey, what's realistic and attainable and what's something I can actually take action on. Yeah. So let's look at, again, a potentially non-attainable versus attainable goal. So I will give up all foods with sugar. Let's define how this is not attainable for a second. Because maybe for a day. Definitely not attainable for me. No. Like everyone knows I love like peanut butter cups and mangoes and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So doesn't mean it's not attainable for like a day. Well, what we're thinking about here is the sustainability of it. Do you really think you can go the rest of your life with never having sugar from fruit, from anything? Yeah. Or let's say you just want to say, I'm never going to have processed foods again. Maybe that is attainable for you, but the likelihood for most of us out there, that's not a very attainable goal to start. As you've progressed in life, maybe that will become more attainable. That's a different conversation. So now how do we make that attainable? I will cut back my nightly ice cream. We just got ice cream yesterday. Yeah, we did. I actually didn't even eat it. It's still in the freezer.
I totally ate it.
And it was amazing, right?
The baby and I enjoyed it very much. Yeah.
When you're growing another person, I think you can afford more calories.
Dude, I eat ice cream all year. No shame.
Yeah, I'm all for it. So,
but not every night.
And even if you do,
that's right.
There's ways to work that in. There's, we could talk about that too. But yeah. I will cut back my nightly ice cream to have ice cream 1 to 2 times a week versus every single night. Or let's even make it more attainable. I will still continuously eat ice cream every night, but I'm going to cut my servings in half. Wow. If I'm just eating the whole pint, I'm going to eat half a pint. I'm going to put it into a bowl. I'm going to, whatever that looks like, we'll focus on that part to make it attainable. So again, if you guys have goals or anything you're setting on, you want to help reframing into attainable, let us know. And then let's talk. Oh, what's up, Keith? Thanks for dropping by, dude. And then if you want to hang out, like share goals, totally shoot me a message too. And we'll catch back up. But now let's go on to, unless you guys have questions about the attainable piece, into our relevant and realistic part of our goal setting. So again, make the goal relevant to your life's reality and your purpose and your big picture, like why you want to do this. So again, going back to a personal example, if I want to, again, I'll go back to, I guess, my goal of, I tend to make my goal around body composition. And realistically that, because I know where I feel my best from a body composition standpoint. I realistically want to be at 15% body fat walking around year round. I'm like between 16 and 18% right now, depending on post-storm, closer to like 17, 18%. But before that, I was at like 16, just under 16%, getting closer to 15. Now, is it realistic for my life right now to say, hey, I want to be 6% body fat next month? No. I could probably, if I had like $1 million online, maybe I can make that happen. Like, but is it realistic and relevant to what my motivation is? I don't want to eat like a bodybuilder, like the way I used to when I was fighting and certain things. I want to have more freedom. I do want to take care of my body, but that's where the relevant and realistic part of it is. So here's another example we give. So if a weight loss buddy thinks your goal should be to compete in a ballroom dancing competition, right, but you hate that style of dancing, that's not really going to work for you. Right. So don't let someone else, or even if you're, let's say your doctor tells you need to lose weight, but you're not ready to lose the weight, or you're not in agreement, that's not the goal. That's not the move. It's find something that's important and resonates with you. So again, it's relevant to your life and your cares and your purpose. And it's also realistic. Not like, hey, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this month. Like that's just not realistic. So again, let's pause for a second. Does that bring up any questions? Let us know, comment, or if you want to share anything, and then we'll go on to the last piece, which is going to be time sensitive. And I just realized I didn't mention the relevant versus non-relevant comparison. So non-relevant or non-realistic, I hate running, but I'm going to run a half marathon.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've actually done this exact goal.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy running. And I've ran a half marathon before just so I could do it. And I wanted to have that experience so that when I work with clients that do that, I could come from a place of authenticity and actual experience. I've also done a triathlon sprint before. I don't like necessarily I do like swimming. That's not true.
Yeah.
And I enjoy biking to a bit, but I don't like running. So I don't think that's a great, relevant and realistic thing. So how can we repurpose that? I love volleyball. So I'm going to join my local volleyball league. That's a way more realistic and relevant thing. And then we can make that even more specific and measurable. Like I'm going to go to volleyball twice a week for an hour. And I'm going to do that for the next 3 months. That's a really specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-sensitive goal. So again, we're going to finish it with time-bound or time-sensitive. So a goal that is grounded within a time frame. Because here's what can happen. All right, I'm going to go to the gym. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Tomorrow doesn't come. Right? And if it does, it's fleeting. So if you don't have a time frame tied to it, there's no sense of urgency. And there's no accountability realistically with that. And if you're already so self-driven and motivated, you probably aren't struggling with goal setting, right? And even if you are, like we're talking about this before, I'm a pretty driven person, but it's also contextually based too. So like having I'm going to do this for the next 100 days can feel more realistic and accountability driven versus like, I just want to lose 10 pounds at some point in my life.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Like maybe that's going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I've gained 50 pounds since then. And that's the relevancy to it. So I'm curious, as we've now gone through this, Carrie, I want your perspectives. I'm doing a lot of talking. My voice could use a break.
You go for it. Well, so I have slightly different, let's say, things that I'm factoring in when I'm setting goals. It's usually largely based on how I want to feel and less about what I want to look like. So Michael and I kind of come from different worlds in that sense, but a lot of our goals end up overlapping because how you look affects how you feel and how you feel affects how you look. So all of these things are still relevant if you're someone more like me, where you have goals that are a little more feeling based. Like I want to feel like I want to have more energy, as I said earlier, or I want to have, I want to generally feel, I know a lot of people that struggle with depression, these different things. Like I want to feel more happy, or I want to feel more gratitude in my life. Those are great goals. They can still be broken down into measurable, actionable steps and still given a timeline where you give yourself grace. Cause I think sometimes those goals can seem a little bit more like, if I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months, that to me, in my mind, with the kind of person I am, that seems like a very attainable, realistic goal with some very clear action steps that I don't feel so attached to. But what happens for me with a lot of these goals, like I just want to feel more happy, or I want to feel more gratitude, I want to feel more full, or I want to be more present with my children. These are goals where I think a lot of people have these intentions, but they don't necessarily think to themselves, well, I could write these down into actionable steps that I can measure and that I can put a timeline on, but they totally can be just like that. To his point, you can create measurable scales, and having things like the what is it, Walkie journal?
The Wiki Planner
journal. These kinds of things
just
can
like
help you help you look back too. Because I think, how long is this set for? Is this 6 months?
This is for 3 months.
3 months.
So it's like a quarterly breakdown. So it's not too far out.
Yeah.
So I'll read you. This was from this last January, and then we're actually going to fill this out. And also, I realized I wasn't checking the Amazon comments. So thanks for Brittany and Delbert on Amazon just checking in. So they said, even the idea of like with ice cream we were talking about, Brittany was saying, what about instead of even like the volume of it, just swapping the ice cream for either better quality, or like maybe I messaged, all right, Haagen-Dazs, we'll swap it for Halo because it's more protein oriented. Or maybe just finding a different quality ice cream that you'll be more satisfied with. And then Delbert was saying, or get like a Ninja Creamy, which we got this summer.
I was just going to suggest that. Yeah.
And you don't need
to control the ingredients that are going in. You can put less sugar. You can find ways to like add banana or different things 100%. That are sweet, but aren't going to be what you're going to get at the store.
100%. So I think that's like, what I'm a big fan of is like, I make my own coffee, and instead of using cream and sugar, I use a protein shake and making it up that way, which is going to probably change too. So here's like, again, what I enjoy about this planner style is where I filled out the wheel. You can kind of put where you feel you're currently at in every area. And this is going to be fun later when I fill out the updated version, because I've definitely like intentionally grown in each one of these areas because of that. So that's kind of cool to look back later. And even the physical, so all right, go to BJJ weekly, strength conditioning, and Muay Thai. So having those checkpoints and being able to measure it, so in the end of it, we can know if we did it, or is it time to pivot? Did that even work for me? Did I like it? Did it give me the fulfillment I was looking for? Did it facilitate what I was looking for? And having it written down, again, not only increases success by 42%. Just think about that for a second. Studies have shown that if you write your goal down on a piece of paper, you're increasing success by 42%. So if you just had a pill that could do the same thing, I'm sure you would take that pill. And if not, I think maybe then you get to look at like, why not? What's going on with that? Yeah, health retreat. Oh yeah, what's up, Nina? Going to listen in while cleaning. Nice. Get your cleaning on, homie.
Can I see this for a second? I wanted to show it too. Can you go back to where it was in the beginning?
Yeah, and also don't mind the girls obviously drew all over this bad boy. So when you have kids, it's fun for them to
here we
go through it.
So I want to kind of show you guys too, like here's the wheel where you color in, like here's what we're talking about, the scale. You're coloring in how, these are relative based, but still measurable. And then it breaks down you can see here where it breaks down each category, and it has 3 spaces for each category where you can write something that, again, is attainable, that's specific, that's relative to that category. And it doesn't mean that you have to hit all of these. This is the way that this journal's done. You could totally just write one category for each one, and just focus on that one thing task for each category. So if this feels overwhelming to you, or you're like, oh my gosh, like 3 things for each category, I only have 20 extra minutes a day, I've got 3 kids, I'm a single mom, whatever, you can really customize it for yourself and just focus on one thing, or just go, you know what, I'm really only lacking in physical and social. Just focus on those 2 categories. Write down 1 or 2 things in those 2 categories. So it's very customizable and easy to work with. I do really appreciate the fact too that it's a 3-month time window, because I think with a lot of these goals, or a lot of these things, like I want to feel better, I want to exercise, whatever, 3 months, that 90, 100 days is a really nice time frame where there's actionable steps and going to be inevitably going to be measurable progress. So that's nice. Yeah.
Bingo. And I'm going to pause here too. If you guys are finding value from this, I haven't really mentioned this in this stream because I was so excited to get into the topic. We do have a GoFundMe, you guys, because this is free for all you guys. If you want to contribute to it, you can. If not, no worries, no pressure. You can comment. It's in our link tree. It's on our bios. You can go through all of that. The other cool thing too is if you're interested in working with us coaching wise, and you think, hey, I'd love to try this, but you're uncertain on all of that, we're actually now being able to build your insurance. If you have insurance, you want to work with us, we can pretty much put an effort. We have 4 open spots we're doing trials with. So it'll cost you nothing out of pocket. Even if you have a deductible, you have a copay, whatever that is, we're finding ways to facilitate coaching where it won't actually, we're going to give you basically a credit. Everyone that is willing to try this, we're going to give you a credit. So it covers your deductible and your copay. You can just do the coaching. And if not, that's okay too. Hopefully you gain value from it. But these are all things you can take action on. And then the last piece of the goal setting. So I kind of already alluded to this, but I'll just go through it. So a non-time bound or time-sensitive goal versus a time-bound goal. I want to eventually lose 10 pounds. I just mentioned that, right? So I'll circle that back. This is why, to me, having a coach becomes so valuable is these types of, or just support, even if it's your physician. Like someone a part of our own coaching network is actually a doctor that I work with that has his own, or he works with a primary care part, he's a PCP and works with his own practice, but he has his own coaching business that we work with and we collaborate with. So being able to have people, I even have my own coaches. That's something I emphasize to people. I think everyone should have a coach.
I have my own coaches. Yeah.
So it's part of it, right?
All your coaches have coaches now.
And if they don't, I would reevaluate what you're doing. Or like why work with them? Because if they're not investing in their growth in one way, shape, or form, they're probably going to stagnate. But that's my own space. So anyways, the time-bound version of this is I will lose 10 pounds by December 31st. And I will accomplish this by eating a fruit or vegetable with every meal and taking a boot camp class 3 times per week. See how specific and time bound that is? And we could level that up even more by getting more specific with not only so that's still measurable, right? 1 piece of fruit or vegetable, but then we go through a list of one of these fruits or vegetables. I like to have like categories and lists. That's just me personally. Some people like to have more freedom with that, but if I know I want to have fruits or vegetables, the one fruit I have every day is strawberries right now because some of the nutrients and antioxidant things it provides for my system. And that's something we're going to talk about tomorrow, actually, that Carrie's going to speak more to, is the nutrition component for your body type, and body type gets used in different kind of beliefs and philosophies of like Western philosophy would be more of like, mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, which probably sounds like another language to a lot of us, but it's like, are you bigger and have a harder time like losing weight, but you can put on muscle pretty fast? Are you athletic naturally and you have a harder time maybe putting on muscle without gaining a little bit of fat, but you're always like able to perform? Or are you like just really light and you're a hard gainer and you're having a hard time putting on weight? Depending on where you fall in these things or hybrids, your food choices will look different. And then Carrie, I know you're going to talk to about like, instead of it being mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, like Kapha, Pitta, and Vata, which is like probably another language to you guys too. I know it was to me. Maybe it's not, but I think there's a cool overlap there. But let's just kind of go through again. These are going to be resources too that we're going to share with you guys when you're on the newsletter or you just reach out. We'll send you these PDFs. So being able to make it smarter. So adding on 2 more, the E and the R. So ethical and rewarding. Here's the interesting thing. Most people don't think about this, but this is an important one. So ethical. Interventions and execution follows professional and personal ethics. What I mean by that is, let's say you go to your doctor, whatever the situation is, and they're like, you know what, you need to go vegan. You need to be vegetarian. Your cholesterol's too high. Your whatever is going on, whatever the reasoning is. Or on the flip side, they're like, hey, you know what, you're iron deficient. You're anemic.
You got to start eating meat.
You need to start eating meat. But you're like, I don't ethically agree with eating animals for whatever your reason. I don't care. I don't judge. I love steak. I love chicken, all that, but I'm also all for majority plant-based foods. The point is it has to ethically align personally or professionally. If it's like from a business perspective, right? I could do a variety of things for business. There's infinite possibilities, but if it doesn't align with me ethically, like I could go rob banks for a living. I could go like be a hitman. Like you can do a variety of unethical things.
Lots of ways to obtain financial goals, but are they going to align with your ethics and your
Is that ethically in alignment? So I think that's an important piece. And then the rewarding mechanism. This is also why I invite you guys to come to Amazon too and check out some of the things here. And for those watching on Amazon, why I put in more than just the planner and our regular stuff is having an end result of the goal that comes with a positive reward and reinforcement.
Yeah.
So for example, taking the book, like what I did last year was it timed perfectly where at the end of the 3 months, I got to go to New Orleans for a bachelor party. I didn't even initially, when I started it out, the goal for me was just the result of having said body composition and spiritual connection and relationship with my own self. But the benefit, I actually was like, oh, cool, I get to go to New Orleans at the end of this too. That's like a reward. So what I did on Amazon is I put some of my favorite clothes that I have from one of our sponsors, put up some different things like a massage chair too. That's not a sponsor, that I just have. Massage gun that's also from a sponsor, like different things you can get at the end of this. Maybe it's a massage, maybe it's a date night with your spouse. The biggest
maybe it's
thing,
a weekend away.
Maybe it's a weekend away or a week away or whatever. Maybe it's a trip to our health retreat when we have that open again, like whether it's in Joshua Tree or Asheville. But the point is being able to ideally not build a reward mechanism around food. That's the biggest thing I would invite you guys. I'm not going to say you can't, but it becomes a little bit of a slippery slope because if going back to ice cream or I like Reese's and peanut butter cups and all that, if I've done this before. When I would go to jiu-jitsu, I'd allow myself to have however many Reese's I want. So I'd get like a whole thing of big cup Reese's. 6 big cup Reese's is like 1,200 calories. It's a crazy amount of, and honestly, the way I train jiu-jitsu and our team, like I burned all that off so I can replenish it. The point though is if food is the reward mechanism, you're going to associate food to rewarding your behavior and it becomes easier to go back to that. And when food is the reward mechanism, that becomes a slippery slope.
Yeah, I'll also say from like an energetic and spiritual standpoint, when you're focused, wherever your attention goes, your energy flows, right? So if your reward mechanism is food and all week you're, eating good, whatever, you have a cheat day or even if you say like, okay, I have, a 3-month goal and at the end of it, I'm just going to gorge myself for a week and eat whatever I want. If your reward mechanism is food, you're inevitably going to be just thinking about food more day to day. You're going to be thinking about what it is you want. You're going to be thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. And if the reason is food and your attention is flowing to food and it's food that maybe isn't good for you, doesn't align with, the sustainable habits that you're building or things that are detrimental to other goals that are important to you, you start to create this kind of friction in the identity where one of you, or fragmentation in the identity where one aspect of you is really striving to go towards your goals, is striving to create this healthy lifestyle. And this other very strong aspect of you is kind of actively fighting against that and making the day-to-day habits more difficult. So I think creating reward mechanisms, we talked a little bit about this before we started the podcast, reward mechanisms that are both feel good and are desirable, but also incorporate self-care or wellness or just things that are inevitably always going to feel like a vacation with friends, family, or loved ones is always going to feel good. Especially if it's a weekend away. It's like, you don't have to do all this crazy planning a trip. It's just a weekend away. It can be a staycation. You can go somewhere nearby, like stay at a nice hotel that you've always want to stay at, have a nice dinner that you always wanted to have, or take someone out that you love. Or things like, massage pods, like have a little thing where you can put your feet and give yourself a home pedicure. So these kinds of things are pedicure. I said pedicure.
Everyone knows it. I knew
pedicure. So and this might be, a couple $100, and maybe you don't have that kind of money spent. But if you set a goal for 3 months and you budget for the reward that you want to get at the end of the goal, and then now you can give yourself a pedicure anytime, it's incorporating, okay, I'm taking care of myself. I'm replenishing and recharging my batteries. I'm using this as a reward, but it's also something that's going to bring a better quality of life and more wellness to me. And it isn't actively fighting that part of my identity that really wants to transcend the lifestyle that I'm living now. So yeah, be really mindful of the rewards that you're setting is all we're trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's the other piece. And the last thing we're going to touch on is these 5 principles. I'm going to breeze through these a little quickly because I have a whole nother presentation and slide deck. I won't go through, I have like 30 slides on that one too. I won't go through all of it, but I wanted to touch on certain key variables because to me, they just work hand in hand of the goal setting and then the habit management that supports it. We've touched on it with some of the goals, but let's look at these 5 from Locke, again, this was the person who's talking about the Goldilocks zone of setting goals. And like, hey, it's a sweet spot. So the first is having clarity on your goal. Set clear goals. And that's where specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive are invaluable. But this could be a slightly different approach. So clear goal you want to achieve with the result that's measurable and has a time-bound sensitivity to it. So then you put the goal in your goals, which I think is fun, is okay, go write down your goals. Like literally the one thing to do today. If you did one thing, I'm actually going to do this myself. Write down your goals. That's why I have my planner right here. We're writing everything down. So determine how you're going to measure it, evaluate that, and then you're going to rewrite it. This is the cool part I appreciate about this approach. Invites a little bit more. Rewrite your goals if it doesn't feel motivating and incentivizing and lights you up. Yeah. Or if even a month in, you're like, actually, I don't really love this. Yeah, you can pivot.
We've talked about this before, but sometimes like Michael and I, we've reflected on times in our lives where we set a goal or we said, I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z for X amount of days or something that's important to us. And then we look at a situation 3 or 6 months down the line and we feel like, well, I'm a really different person. I'm in a different situation. I went through a divorce or I changed my job or I moved, here or there and whatever. And this just doesn't align. Like I'm doing this thing, but I'm not attached to it anymore. It's not relevant to who I am now. You can totally just let that one go and then readjust, go back to writing down your goals. What are your new goals based on your life, your unique circumstances now that may be different from 3 or 6 months ago? What's important to you, and keep reiterating that. So you're not kind of, just doing things for the sake of doing them or holding yourself accountable to some past version of you that is no longer relevant, because that will stifle your growth.
Live will end in activity during your current. What's up, TikTok? You trying to mess? Oh, because we're not touching the screen. I love you, TikTok. You're just such a silly goose.
Oh,
because we have to like touch the screen.
Robot?
It's like, hey, are you there? You haven't touched the screen in forever. What's going on? Don't worry. We're still here at TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else. So now let's go to number 2. Again, we're going to breeze through these a little more. Set challenging goals. What I mean by that is, again, think Goldilocks zone. Challenging enough where it's in motivation for you. Doesn't feel like a walk in the park. On the flip side, though, here's what I'll be real. The contrast of this is sometimes when I work with a client and they're just like feeling like a failure, I'll make a goal really easy. Like, hey, I just want you to drink water today. That's the goal. Right. The measurable goal is drink 16 ounces of water at some point today, every day. That may not feel like a lot to you, but like that's where it's a Goldilocks zone. Maybe for that person, it feels challenging enough where it's like, oh, I don't really drink water, but it's not so overwhelming. I can't do it. So pick a goal that's motivating, but doesn't feel impossible and doesn't like, I could do this with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
So then combining that, we're going to think about having a commitment level to it. So secure your commitment, like stay on that with the caveat. Again, we talked about, we can always rewrite the goal, but once you find that goal and it really lights you on fire and you feel good about it, we're going to stick to that commitment, believe in that, and that it's attainable and achievable. It's not, you get to reevaluate. And being able to take the action, we can use visualization, which Carrie, you could probably speak more to.
Oh, yeah.
And we could talk about
that.
My
primary method for goal setting.
Mindfulness, especially on Thursday, you're going to be talking about that a bit more. We'll be talking about that. Make a vision board maybe, or again, going back to writing it down. You're going to see this time and time again. And then revisit that list or vision board regularly, either daily or weekly. Like what I did with the girls in the beginning of the year for January when I was doing my planner, we did vision boards. And on the vision board, we put like going to New York, being able to go to Disney, being able to go to the water park, like these certain things. And because they see it every day, it can motivate them. And they're like creating this in their head with their actions and their behaviors, just like us. So if you see every day, either like a picture of yourself that you want to get back to, or whatever you connect to your goal, and visually seeing that becomes really powerful.
Yeah.
So embrace the feedback. This is such a crucial one, especially when I work with clients or patients. And if you do have a coach, or if you don't, have a support system and get feedback, from yourself, but also from others that you respect their perspective and you know that they're going to have your best interest at hand.
That's really important.
And this is where we tag in, like, have accountability buddy. That's my favorite phrase, the accountability buddy. So if you need one, you don't have one, we're always here for you. That's where coaching comes into play. But also I would invite you, go online. You guys are watching this online, whatever platform you're watching. I'm willing to bet there's a group or an account where you could find someone to help hold you accountable.
Oh yeah.
So it's like a very minimal investment as far as resources on money, but maybe it takes some time or some energy. That's the difference. So have your progress, check in once a week, once a month, whatever it aligns for you, and then be able to ask for feedback. Have a list of people or someone, at least one person you can go to for feedback, including yourself. And then the category we can use here is, am I going to stop? Am I going to keep doing, or am I going to start? And looking at whatever the thing is. For example, in that model, if my goal is to lose 10 pounds by December 31st, I'm going to stop staying up and watching TV past 10 o'clock. I'm going to keep doing my gym routine, and I'm going to start adding in a creatine supplement post-workout to help with my recovery so that I can show up for my next workout better. That's just an example off the top of my head, but there's a variety of ways we could do that and being able to have resources around it. And then the fifth is the complexity to the test. Ensure that the goals are not so overwhelming and complex you get overloaded. Not to me the same thing about keeping it in that relevant, realistic framework. And that's something you can actually do. Mm-hmm. So being able to have more time to achieve your more complex goals doesn't mean you can't have a complex goal, but make sure it's not so overwhelming that you just burn out halfway through. And then breaking it down. We talked about long-term goals. Have like other short-term goals or process-oriented goals that will lead you there. Mm-hmm. And then when needed, get professional help. Seek a professional. Seek mentors, support. Just because you're getting support doesn't mean you have to pay for it. Like, there's mentors that you can get. There's so many resources.
Or what we've been using lately, like, you can just go on ChatGPT and just be like, hey, ChatGPT, this is my goal. I have a 3-month time window. What are some smaller goals that could help me get to this bigger goal? So if you're like, I really don't know, like I want to buy a house in a year, whatever, like, I don't know what the steps are considering where I am. AI can help you. Accountability buddies too, in groups, online social media groups. If you just reach out and say, hey guys, I have this, just your own community. I have this goal. I have a 3-month window. Like, anyone have any feedback? Anybody struggled with this? Any tips or tricks, and sometimes you got to take what the peanut gallery says are the greatest all. That's where coaching comes in, is so valuable, because now you have people that you could trust, that you can hold you accountable and are very specifically geared towards your personal goals. But just saying, there's lots of resources like ChatGPT, and these kinds of things are free resources that can help you break your bigger goals down into more digestible, actionable parts. And you can use your discretion on AI's responses as well, obviously.
And what I always think about too is, you usually get a coach if you want accelerated results and adding accountability.
Yeah.
So do this on your own. If it's overwhelming or confusing, that's where, again, I would say reach out to us, reach out to a coach. The cool thing, again, with what we're doing is we're doing insurance options. If you don't have insurance or want to go that route, we're doing sliding scale coaching right now. Yeah, so it's not going to be, especially now after the storm, I don't want financial reasons to be the thing that stops anyone from getting support. So you can contribute what you want. If you can't afford anything, cool. That's where we're setting up programs and different things, and we can leverage insurance and a variety of other options. And the last piece we're going to talk about before we shift gears here and breeze through a couple of habit management things, and then I'll do my planner, is, and this one, Carrie, I'd really like to get your thoughts on, because we've talked about this a lot, is your environment, both physically and socially, whether it's the colors you have in your place. So like, this is interesting. I've done entire podcasts on the impact colors can have. If you notice fast food restaurants, for example, what kind of commonalities do you notice? Are there certain colors like red, yellow, orange you see in almost all fast food restaurants?
Right.
There's a reason to that.
Yeah.
They're leveraging your nervous system in a certain capacity to cue you in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then you could do the opposite. You could do cooling colors to have an opposite effect on your nervous system, on your actual rest and digest system versus fight or flight.
Yeah.
If you are in fight or flight, it's going to be really hard to be satiated from food and to properly absorb nutrients. If you're in that rest and digest mode, which is our relaxed system, You're way more efficient at absorbing food and getting satisfied from it. So being mindful of colors, even what, like if it's messy, we've talked about this a lot. One of the things I can just live in a mess because I'm constantly going, but taking care of your space, how you dress, how you present yourself, and then social environment, the people you're surrounding yourself with, that may have to change too. But I'm curious, like tag in on all that.
I was just going to say there was I can't remember the name of the book now, of course, but I'll give you a brief overview. There was a whole book written on how you can kind of game your space based on what it is you're trying to achieve. Something I've done in many of the places I've lived in, because I had lived alone for a long time before, and now I have my daughter, Michael, and we have the kids and stuff. But when I had spaces with multiple rooms, if you have more than one room, like let's say you have your living room, right? You have an office and you have a bedroom. Let's say you live alone and you have 3 rooms to work with and you have your bathroom. You can totally paint the walls, or even if you rent and you can't paint the walls, put colors of things in your space that'll motivate you or trigger your nervous system to behave in a certain way. So in my case, I almost always had one room that was a relaxing, like wind down room, which usually that's the bedroom for me. In the bedroom, I don't want to work. I want to think about calming. I want to think about meditating. I want to think about relaxing. They have another room that I use as kind of an office, more of a workspace, that's going to be a brighter color. Usually I like to choose a yellow or an orange. Those are colors that are still calming, but they're more stimulating to my nervous system and make me feel the desire to want to work, to want to get things done, to want to go
get it done.
Yeah, to be creative. Sometimes, my office would be a space where I'd write music and do various different things. And then, having a room, like colors in the bathroom that are very calming and feel very clean, nothing too bright and crazy or whatever. Just basically you can just create your space to trick your nervous system. And to his point too, you can even wear clothes, like something that when I was on at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I had a mentor that told me, I really think you should focus on wearing pastels for a while. Like I used to like to wear really dark colors. Obviously, I still like wearing dark colors. I'm wearing dark colors right now. I like really dark colors, but for a while he was like, I just want you while you're meditating, specifically, at least while you're meditating, but also be great if when you're going out, you can just incorporate some more pastels. And I didn't realize this at the time, but I started doing that. And I realized like, oh, I do feel more uplifted. I do feel more clear in my mind. So we don't consciously think of these things, but these are easy, accessible ways that you can gamify your environment to be more conducive to your goal setting. And obviously the social environment component is huge, guys. We always say the 5 people you spend the most time with are going to really determine a lot of your success. So if you find yourself being downpulled energetically, if you're like, if you're finding yourself, I don't have enough time to do X, Y, or Z because my partner or my friend is always needing me to talk to them on the phone and I feel so tired, or like I'm talking to a family member and I'm drained. Like these are signs to you. These are feelings in you that you don't want to ignore. So if you're really drained after a phone conversation that you're having every day with a family member, set a boundary with the family member. Say, you know what? I'm focused on my goals. I really don't have time to talk to you. If every day set a 5-minute timer, a 10-minute timer. I have 5 minutes to talk to you, and pick a time of day where you feel like, okay, I don't have anything else going on. I can handle it this time of day. Don't pick at 9 in the morning. And then by the time 10 in the morning comes around, you're not motivated to do anything because you're bummed out because you just got all of your energy drained from this kind of life sucking energy. So these are, we'll go more into these things on the mindfulness day, but like, it's really important to keep track of and pay attention to how you feel around certain people and make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you succeed, that are going to hold you accountable. And if you don't have those people, you can totally go find those people. Michael and I are here. There's coaches. There's people that will hold you accountable. There's people that want to see you succeed. Strangers that you've never met that really want to see you succeed just because that's what we want for all of humanity. So seek out those people.
And the last piece I'll throw into that, and then we'll kind of pivot a little bit and touch on a couple other things and then do our planner, is from my experience, this is interesting. When you have people really close to you, sometimes they have attachments to a past identity or a version of how you show up.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't want to, not that they don't want to see you succeed, they don't want to let go of whatever that relationship component is.
Yes.
And sometimes you need to really look at that and be like, hey, is this dynamic serving me? Is this the person I even want to be perceived as? And it's nothing against you, but like, this is what I need to do right now.
Yeah.
And being able to adjust that becomes really valuable. So let's just breeze through. I think that's pretty much going to be it. Don't forget to reward yourself. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. What does that look like? Even this is the one thing I will say monetarily. Okay, cool. Give yourself a monetary reward. Because let's say, because we also will work with one of my specialties is like smoking cessation. So say someone wants to stop smoking. Think about how much money you might spend on a pack of cigarettes and then put that same money aside into an account every time you buy it. And then at the end of the, let's say 100 days, if you didn't smoke or hit your goal, look at the money you have and now spend that on yourself or invest it or pay down some debt or whatever that thing is. That becomes really valuable too. And then I just wanted to finish with these resources from between books as well as different websites you can leverage. And now we'll kind of just tag into our habit management Again, I won't go into all the definitions here. What I'm really going to highlight are looking at some of the ways that we can start to look at habits that can be either potentially, let's look at some harmful and health promoting ones like smoking, vaping, alcohol, substance abuse, mindless eating, being able to, or sitting during your workday. Like, I wonder if you guys have heard that, like sitting is the new smoking. I wrote a whole article on that. It's not. There is detrimental health effects, but like literally that same day, if you just stand up and exercise, it combats a lot of the impact of that. Checking phone or email too frequently and trying to seek dopamine, that's like spiraling, versus exercising, eating nourishing plant-based foods, not skipping meals, hydrating your body, being mindful with your food, chewing every single bite 10 times, being able to stand during your workday where possible, or stretching, brushing and flossing teeth after meals, just taking care of yourself in a different way. Even something as simple as buckling your seatbelt.
Right.
Like saying, hey, I'm worth protecting. Right. Something as simple as that. Having a bedtime routine. In general, having a routine. I'll be transparent with you guys. One of the things I've avoided for a while is having certain structured routines, because I, as a professional athlete and fighter and business owner, I had so many routines for so long that over the last couple of years, I've found myself not wanting to have as much routine in business ways. And that's something to just think about. So
yeah, no, totally. I could add so many things to that list, but even I would say even some of the negative kind of habit forming stuff is like not resting. So some people, their quote unquote idea of resting is just vegging out in front of the TV or being on social media, actually resting and allowing your mind to be quiet, like sitting outside in nature. You don't have to do that every day, but like maybe carve out an hour a week on the weekends where you're just outside and you're not around anybody and you're just in silence, or, all of these things. Our society is very hyper overdriven, I think. And so we have to kind of, especially now more than ever with like the information age and how quickly things are traveling, carving out your states of peace and your times of just quiet self-reflection are really core habits that are going to help you achieve your goals. Running yourself into the ground with whatever it is you're doing, or mindlessly, with the addictions, or mindlessly doing these things. Will keep you distracted.
So the last thing I just wanted to touch on really quick, then we're going to get into the planner, and I'm actually going to write out my goals for the next 3 months, and you guys can follow along with that or just kind of ask questions, is let's just look at how habits form and be mindful. This is the feedback loop. We're either creating or trying to disrupt. One, you have your cue, a trigger that tells your brain to go into automated mode that leads to whatever the behavior is. For example, I'm stressed. I'm going to go eat something because that makes me feel better. That could be a behavior pattern I've actually personally just created for myself throughout my childhood because I had a certain relationship with food. And being able to be mindful of, camera's moving on me, being mindful of what does that look like, that's an opportunity to stop at the cue. Then there's step 2 of the routine, the behavior itself and actions taken. So, okay, I had to go to the kitchen, or I had to order food, or stop at a drive-thru, or go to a restaurant, or make the food, whatever the thing is, go to the food store and then eat it. That's another opportunity to break it. Then the third is the reward mechanism that helps your brain say, oh, this is a behavior pattern I want to continue, which is dopamine from sugar. Maybe there's a reward mechanism driven differently, especially when it comes to like a smoking sensation with food, with some what would be perceived as detrimental behavior. There's some reward that's happening. You wouldn't do something if there wasn't something to be gained from it. As opposite and detrimental as it may be long-term, there's a reason we do all the things that we do. No one just does anything from my perspective. I don't like speaking in absolutes, but seldomly we're doing things where it's not doing something for us. Yeah. The brain and the body are very resilient and intelligent, and we will drive those patterns that seem to serve us or protect us, whether it's from trauma, whether it's from reward mechanisms, whatever that is. So have habits that you're aware of the rewards, but try and find positively reinforcing rewards. So instead of when I'm stressed, I go get food. When I'm stressed, I take 5 minutes to breathe.
Yeah. And I'll also say to that point, sometimes using the same philosophy, but like from a slightly different angle can be helpful. So if you're like, hey, I'm noticing every time I'm stressed, I'm eating, writing down, I notice every time I'm stressed that I'm eating more. Writing down specifically what it is that you're getting from the eating, so your mind understands like, oh, what's the benefit of me doing this? Okay. The benefit is I'm not thinking about what I'm stressed about for the 5 minutes while I'm eating. The benefit is I get a sugar rush. If you're eating something like a cake or candy, I get a sugar rush for 20 minutes after I eat this. And my mind is focused on other things and I'm not thinking about the stress. So having a concrete understanding of what I'm gaining from the kind of, let's say, negative habit that I'm doing, what I'm gaining can give you more opportunity to go, okay, well, if this is what I'm looking for, I'm looking to get 5 minutes without thinking about the problem. I'm looking for 20 minutes where my mind is in a different place. Then to Mike's point, then you create a new habit that can give you those same exact things, but aren't detrimental, aren't going to put you further away from your goals, or aren't going to, kind of be temporary, short-lived. Like, this is always what we've said with these kinds of things like food or drugs or any kinds of addictions. Like, you're always, if you keep engaging with that thing to relieve you from whatever it is you don't want to look at or deal with, or what might be difficult or traumatic or stressful, you will end up doing the bidding of that thing. So if the thing you're doing is smoking, for instance, every time you go to smoke, now you're doing the bidding of smoking. You're dependent on smoking. You can't feel good unless you have a cigarette. So it's a very disempowering situation to be dependent on a substance or something to, quote unquote, make you feel okay with just existence, right? So far better to be conscientious about what the benefit is. It might be kind of a hidden, like, unconscious, ego-driven benefit, but get real about what's the benefit of me doing this thing? And then, okay, if I can look at that benefit, what's something that's positive and aligns with the person I want to be and the goals that I want to set that can replace this habit that I can start implementing? And then again, like we keep saying, hold yourself accountable, find accountability buddy, find support with, it could even be your partner. Like, hey, have a vulnerable conversation. I don't want to do this thing anymore. I'm tired of it. I see the benefits that I'm getting from it, but they're not real benefits. I don't want to be dependent on this thing. I don't want to feel disempowered. How can I empower myself? Come up with a plan and then be like, okay, help hold me accountable. If I'm doing this, like, very gently, you don't want to shame someone for behaving in a certain way. It's not gonna be helpful either, but you guys use your discretion for the people you love, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that's such a key piece. So now this is what hopefully you guys have been waiting for and you're going to join in on. So I have my new planner and I'm going to start filling it out so we can do this together. If you don't have the planner, that's okay. You can literally just get a piece of paper and start writing these things out for yourself. But again, remember, when we looked at, when I say we, I mean Thomas Locke and an entire team and a variety of different studies and analyses, they found that there was an increased success rate when you just simply write your goals out. And this particular one from 1968 saw a 42% increase. So again, if you think about it, if I could just give you a pill that would increase your success by 42%, I'm willing to bet you would take it. And it's a one-time thing. You only have to do it once. So we're going to look at these 5 categories: spiritual, physical, intellectual, social, and emotional. So I'm going to tell you guys where I ranked each on a 1 to 10 level in January, last time I did this. I'll tell you where I'm putting it now, and then I'll go into the details of each area, what I'm working on, and you guys can ask questions, whatever that looks like, and then we're going to just bring it home from here. And if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I missed part of it. We're going to do replays. We can send down that. So join our newsletter, just comment or DM us. We'll send it to you. And we have downloadable PDF resources that are going to go on along with this. And again, if you find value, I put the GoFundMe right here on the screen. You guys can contribute to it if you so choose. If not, that's okay too. If you want to share it and support, that's great as well.
Oh, and for those of you that are on, Instagram and TikTok, who didn't get the slides.
Oh, yes.
You didn't see the slides we were going through as we were presenting. You're just seeing the video, the live feed. Again, DM, comment. We can totally get your email and send you the version of the replay of the video with all the slides, so you can write them down or you can have access to those things.
Go through them on your own. I'll send you the actual various slide decks and some worksheets. So number 1, in January, I put my spiritual was at a 5. And I've pretty intentionally worked on it. So I'm going to bump it up. I'm also really hard on myself. So like my nature is like not to make progress, but I'm going to bump it up to a 6 now. I feel like I've been very intentional with my relationship to myself, to the spirituality of things, whether you want to call that God, source, spirit, whatever that is for you. I've been very intentional on that. And like going through, I'm really grateful. My dad bought me a new Bible that I hadn't had a Bible in a long time. So having a Bible, going through that, being able to look at some other types of, even like Carrie helped me read we've reading the Bhagavad Gita, just going through that in different pieces. To me, that's all spirit, like practicing yoga, meditation. That's all part of it. So I'm putting that at a 6. And the goal is every single time we just progress it up more. Then the next category is physical. I put that at a 7, which is kind of ironic since I was a professional athlete. But I'm like, injuries, life, I can be critical. Right. I would put that at an 8 now because I actually, through the last 6 months, I actually feel I can physically outperform 30-year-old me. 25-year-old me would be like an interesting matchup. Physically, they'd probably outperform me, but there'd be some other aspects I can make up for it with strength. So that's the physical side. It's at an 8 now for me. And the goal is to, every time I do this, bump it up by 1 until we hit 10 in all areas, which the likelihood of me actually being a 10 is I'm never going to put a 10, to be honest with you guys. Or I don't want to say never. Seldomly would I allow myself to say 10 because that means there's no room for improvement. Yeah. Then we have intellectual. I put it at 7. I like to think I'm a pretty intelligent guy. I put a lot of effort into my education. I'm going to put that at an 8 with my physical because I've like consistently grown in that area, but there's always room for improvement. And then social, I put it at a 5. That was where I always tend to struggle. It's at a 6 now because I've been very intentional with like going out. And when I was originally dating, how I met Carrie, being social, or just friends in the community and those types of dynamics.
Holding pads for people at the gym.
Just like connecting with people again. To me, that's really valuable. And the last piece, emotional, I put it at a 5. Last time I put it at a 7 now. The biggest thing to me is like, to me, emotional intelligence stuff, I used to think, oh, I'm happy all the time. It's not actually, from my experience now, it's like, do I allow myself to have space for being sad? Have I allowed myself to cry if I needed to do that? Can I actually hold space for myself? Do I know when it's time to breathe and pull back and all those things? So that's
I have emotional integrity too, instead of self-delusion. That's been a big one that we've been working on. That's a real big one. There's been a lot of improvement there.
So now this is going to have the area of where we can write out the tasks for the next 3 months. So last time what I did was I put daily scripture reading every single day for at least a minute. So again, keep in mind, this is measurable, specific. The second was weekly church attendance, whether it was like virtually or in person. And then these were like mostly, I don't know if you noticed the theme, it was like Christian oriented and based, but you could adapt this, whatever your beliefs are. And then using the Abide app, which I still have, weekly for 10 minutes, which the thing I liked about the Abide app, for those of you who aren't familiar, it basically gives you like a Bible verse, and then you get like a meditation around that. So you could sit with that. So to me, it was kind of a cool double win where I would be able to be mindful and focus on my breathing, and I'd have this guidance of a scripture. Again, you don't need to, in my opinion, you don't have to have any of these things. This is just how I did it. And now what I'm going to do for the spiritual, for me, it's actually just meditation more than anything else, is 5 to 10 minutes meditating daily. So I've been meditating daily. And that looks different. Like some days I'll be transparent with it. When I'm going to the bathroom, 5 minutes, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm meditating while I'm doing that experience. I'm present, I'm breathing, or I'm doing the dishes, or I'm sitting in the sauna, or I'm doing exercising. I'm not listening to music. I'm just being present with that. That can all be mindfulness to me and meditation. And I'm curious your thoughts, since that's like more of your realm too.
Yeah, I would say definitely, especially for those of you that have kids. We have 3 kids between us, 1 on the way, obviously. So for those of you who have kids, sometimes finding time to meditate can be challenging, especially when your kids are really young. We've got 2, 4, and 6-year-old, and we're about to have a newborn. So, doing things like you're going to do every day, like the dishes, and setting a 5-minute timer while you're doing the dishes and spending 5 minutes being mindful is a way to kind of like game the system of feeling like you have no time. I mean, obviously, if your kids are napping, not all of our kids are out of that. All of our current kids are out of that phase, but obviously we'll have them coming in, but, or waking up early. That's a really easy, accessible one for everyone. Whatever time you wake up 5 minutes earlier. That's it. Just 5 minutes earlier, which isn't really going to make or break your day. It's not really going to be a hard goal to attain, but that 5 minutes, just spend it directly, immediately, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, whatever, but then immediately do your 5-minute meditation. If you have kids, if you have, a business, if you're doing a million things, 5 minutes at the beginning of your day, set an early alarm, is going to be really accessible. And I think that when you're first starting out, something like 5 or 10 minutes is a better way to go than, again, when we talked about at the beginning, don't make the goal so big. I want to meditate for an hour a day, that it's unattainable or doesn't feel accessible. Because if you've never meditated before, even though it seems and sounds really easy on paper, it can be really challenging, both physically and mentally in the beginning. So yeah, start small, start with things you can do, especially with meditation. Start with something you can do every single day, because that's the key to meditation specifically. Now with things like exercise, you don't necessarily need to be doing something every day. You can set it up so it's 2 to 3 times a week in the beginning, but meditation really does need a consistent, within 24 hours show up. So a set time every day. Like Mike said, it can look a little different. You don't have to be so, strict on yourself that you're only doing it in a particular way. Incorporate your regular life. Find times on your drive to work in the morning. For those of you that commute, set a timer, specifically set a timer, or find an app for 5-10 minutes on your drive. You're going to really focus on being present. The rest of your drive, you can do whatever you want. Think about the day or whatever, but yeah.
And while Carrie's kind of going through that, I just filled in the rest of those topics I'll share with you guys. So now going through, again, our tasks, I'm just putting 1 for each today. And then as that comes up, I'm probably going to fill in the rest of the 3. Because last time, if you notice, I put 3 in each category. And I'll be honest with you guys, it was a lot. I realized I don't have to do that. So what I put last time, again, for the spiritual, now what I'm focusing on is 5 to 10 minutes meditating daily. That's it. That's my focus. That's what it is. That's all that. And if there's anything in addition to that, cool, that's bonus points. Going into physical. So let me share with you the difference in what I did physical focus from last time to this time. Physically, 3 to 4 BJJ sessions weekly. To me, that was either taking class or having individual solo sessions where I was focusing on drills or exercises related to jiu-jitsu. 2 to 3 strength conditioning sessions weekly, and 1 to 2 Muay Thai sessions weekly. So that's like, if you put all that together, that's 6 to 9 sessions a week.
No.
That's a lot, but that's kind of my wheelhouse. That's
it's in his industry, so it's a little more accessible.
Yeah, it's way more accessible, and I just built the bandwidth to do that. I'm actually being really conservative. I'm just focusing on 2 BJJ sessions weekly. That's it. I know I'm going to do strength conditioning. I know I'm going to do all this other stuff. I just care about getting jiu-jitsu into my week twice a week, every week. Because over the last 6 months, since I originally got promoted from going up to New York, and that's something I'm really torn about. Like, I got my purple belt from a coach that I'd worked with for a really long time. I was like, hey, dude, the next time I see you don't have a purple belt, I'm giving you a purple belt because that's what I feel. But the point is, once I got that, I actually got injured, and I've been doing solo sessions and privates. But my goal is to have consistency twice a week with that. Then into the intellectual. Last time it was CEUs done for my board certification health, which I'm actually finishing this month. I'm still doing that. 1 live or virtual seminar attended, and then 1 book monthly. So right now I'm just keeping with the 1 book monthly, like keeping and solidifying that routine, which is really valuable to me. In the social component, I put go out or hang out once a week with friends, especially because coming out, came out of a breakup. I was going through a divorce last year and thought it was really important to focus on the social that I ignored for a while. Try 1 new outing or activity from a social component on a monthly basis. So maybe a new spot, new restaurant, new endeavor, and then visit friends out of the state or city on a quarterly basis. This time, what I'm putting on is 1 social outing monthly, meaning I just have to go out and be social once a month, whether it's going to the fights, which I'm actually doing on Saturday, whether it's going to meet up with friends or have a play date or whatever that is. There's a social component to that. And then the emotional, I was using BetterHelp. BetterHelp's a great resource for therapy. Continue with BetterHelp weekly sessions, which I did until my actual therapist was like, hey, I want you to take a break. Now I'm going to start going back to that. Journal daily and continue to allow myself to hold space 5 minutes a day for my feelings. That was really impactful. For the emotional, I'm just journaling now. My intention 3 to 5 times a week. So 3, and making it more specific for 10 minutes.
There we go.
So that's the last piece of sense of specificity. And then the last thing that I like that they do, by practicing my small daily actions, I will be able to, and this is what I wrote last time, feed my mind, body, and soul to grow and ultimately be able to be the version of myself that transforms my kids' lives in the world with health. Because that's like my ikigai, is transforming the world with health. That's why I'm doing these live streams, everything I do. Regardless if I decide to change career paths or whatever, I would do this stuff for free because I love it. So that's something I am going to continuously build on. And I didn't write this part, so I'm going to kind of do it with you guys live. So by practicing all of these things, I am able to show up as my best self and support those that I care for and my purpose, which is almost the same thing. But to me, it's okay, by hitting these boxes, I'm taking care of myself. I'm growing at the same time. I'm modeling for my children and my loved ones and the people I get to work with. And I get to continuously create sustainability with it. So that's the really important piece. And then cool thing with this planner is now I get to set up the rest of my month around what those habits and focal points are. And every single day we get to do that. So I hope that was helpful. That's all I got. Carol, I'll kind of let you throw in whatever you got, and then we'll just kind of sign it off, bring it home, and then go about what tomorrow's going to look like. Because tomorrow we're doing 10:15 streaming instead of 12:15, which we did today.
Yeah. Tomorrow's
and hopefully that was valuable, y'all.
So one thing I was going to add, we touched a little bit on this earlier, but something I really like to do with goal setting is visualization.
Ooh, yeah.
And this really ties into the why as well. I feel like creating I'm a very creative person. So this, if you're a really science, technology-based person, this might not plug in as much, but for creative people, I think sometimes creating something that's visual in your mind that's attached to your why can be really helpful. So what I like to do when I want to set a specific intention or goal is I like to visualize my life, or let's say my situation, when I've obtained the goal. So I visualize, let's say I set a goal for 3 months. I visualize myself at 3 months from now. And not only do I hold in my mind what this looks like, how my day-to-day life is looking as this goal is obtained, I also really, really hone in on how I feel. So that's a big component for me, is thinking about, okay, how does my head feel? How does my mind feel? What are my emotions like? What is the energy around me creating? How does my space feel? What is it reflecting about me? How do I feel about myself? Do I feel empowered? Yeah. Do I feel loved? Do I feel worthy? And I really focus on those feelings and finding connection to those feelings within myself, because whatever my why is for what I'm doing these goals for, why I'm setting up these goals, will be inevitably attached to this visual and these strong positive emotions and the feeling of empowerment, which is very, very, very motivating. And I don't just do that once. I tend to, if I'm setting up a goal that's really important to me, I might do that. Yeah. I might do that for like 15 minutes at night before I go to bed for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as long as it takes until I feel like, okay, I'm really clear on my vision. I'm really clear on how I want to feel when I obtain this vision. I'm really clear on the steps I need to take to get me there. And I'm really clear on why I'm doing it. So when all those things are clear and I feel very, very grounded in my vision, and it's almost like, I really wait until I feel like, okay, this is a reality for me. There's no way that I'm not going to obtain this. There's no way that like in my mind, I'm already there. So it's just walking up the stairs to get to the top. So that's something that's been really helpful and powerful for me. And I think incorporating all these things with a visual, emotional component attached to the why will just give you that extra juice that you need to get it done.
Powered on up. So yeah, that's going to bring it home for the goal setting, habit management. Again, we're going to send out a replay of this to our newsletter. So make sure you guys are jumped and signed in on that. If not, just shoot us a message, DM on wherever you're watching this, or we'll have resources and links for you to follow that you can get the resources, downloads. Again, hop on Amazon too to get any of the stuff I was talking about that may support you. And if you want coaching support, just reach out to us, whether it's a DM on our website. We're now able to accept and bill insurance. So there's a zero out-of-pocket cost for the next 4 people. We're again, the goal is to have 10 spots where I'm trialing 6 right now. We got 4 more open before we feel really confident in how we're doing everything. And then if you feel so inclined, you found value from this, you can donate to our GoFundMe. If you're on TikTok or Instagram, you don't see the link that I'm pointing to, you can go to the profile. We have it linked up there. Everything's on our link tree in our profile. If you're watching on Amazon or LinkedIn, that's the one place you may not see it all. On Amazon, we have it linked to all of our social medias. On LinkedIn, you should be able to see contact information. Just reach out to us there. And again, tomorrow, Carrie's going to be talking about nutrition.
Yeah, we're both going to be talking about nutrition.
And energy. Well, yeah. But I'm really more excited to hear your compliment to what I talk about, because I've talked about it so many times. I'm really interested in the other side. Yeah, and again, it's going to be 10:15 Eastern time tomorrow. Wherever you're watching this, you can watch it again, and we'll be shooting it out there.
And I did want to also say, if any of you guys want private yoga sessions, private coaching sessions, you can come to me for those. 500 RYT yoga instructor and coach. And if you want private strength and conditioning sessions, private Muay Thai, private BJJ, or any of these things that are more in person or remote, honestly, we both work remote and in person in the Asheville and surrounding areas, hit us up for those too. So anything outside of this, if it's something more specific, you can hit us up for those things too. Yeah.
Bam. So thanks for hanging on. I'm going to do a little cheers. Do you have anything in yours?
No, I already finished it. But that's all right.
We'll just pretend.
I'll take the last sip.
Cheers, y'all. Thanks again, y'all. Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Let's quiz you to see if you know how to end the TikTok now.
Oh, man.
Oh, snap. Pressure is on.
I don't think I did this yesterday, did I?
You didn't, no.
Yeah. So how would I know?
So